It's another CarCast Shocktober episode, which I feel like might be pretty common for this series. It's kind of hard to cram in all these horror movies, so I have to record when I have the time. Been at work late lately, so I'm getting up a little later because I'm fucking tired from getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning, but, you know, it is what it is. But today, we are going to talk about one of my favorite movies to watch in October. I watch it every year. It's one of the only movies that I'm probably going to cover that I have seen before, because whenever I do Shocktober, it's usually to watch new movies, but I always throw in a couple like, hey, I just want to sit down and watch something I know and love and don't have to pay as much attention to it. But this movie is, first of all, I'm going to express an unpopular opinion I might have, and the fact that I think Tim Burton is very overrated. I don't like a lot of his movies. I know even mostly a lot of his earlier movies people love, but there's just something about it. I don't care for it. I don't like it. The Batman movies are okay, but to me they kind of ruin now that we have good Batman movies, it's like, okay, I can forget about those now. Like, that was what we had because there was nothing else, but now it's like, all right, you know, I don't need those. They're kind of boring. They don't honor Batman. There's things to like about them for sure. Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and that might be it. But those ones are like okay. Nightmare Before Christmas is fine. But other than that, Pee-wee. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Can't really forget that one because it's like the most un-Tim Burton movie in his filmography. But he has made one movie that I love, and that movie is Sleepy Hollow. I watch it every Halloween, every October at least. I don't know why. I love this movie. I wish Tim Burton did more movies like this, and I guess the closest thing he's done is Sweeney Todd, which I haven't seen since the theaters. I remember thinking it was just okay. But I love Sleepy Hollow. Like, I wish he was just a director who made period piece horror films, because it's a lot of fun. First of all, I love the story of the Headless Horseman. Like, I think it's a great scary story. It's a great Halloween story, and seeing it interpreted as a hard R-rated horror film is awesome, and Tim Burton was the perfect director to tackle it. And I love Johnny Depp in the movie. I love the cast in general. Christina Ricci is somebody I'm not real big on, but I think she's actually pretty good in the movie. And I love the expanding of the story. I love the whole Johnny Depp is a man of science who has to be convinced of this magical, mystical thing, and watching him slowly come to terms with that. And things like when he's cutting the tree that the Headless Horseman is buried under, and the tree is bleeding on him, and he's just kind of like, yeah, hey, you know, it's just, this is normal. But yeah, Sleepy Hollow is a fucking great movie. Like, the aesthetic, the art style that he takes with those creepy, spooky trees, it's perfect. I love the tone of the film, and the action scenes are really great. The idea that Christopher Walken just comes in to play the Headless Horseman, before he's headless, in the beginning of the movie and a little bit at the end, is a great casting choice, and it's so much fun. I don't know how it was a long time before I even saw it. I remember when it first came out, I was a little younger, and I think my parents were watching it, and I kind of caught glimpses of it, and I was just like, oh, that looks spooky, I don't want to see it, back when I was a little baby, when it came to horror films. But now it's one of my favorites to watch. I'm trying to think. I love how it feels like a throwback to classic movies, like things like Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that. But it's still a modern movie, but there's specific moments where you're like, oh yeah, this feels like an old set of a movie, like how the background would just be like a painted thing, and I don't know, it just works so well for this film. It's a good clash of old and new, and it being an older story helps. I mean, the Sleepy Hollow story is from the 1800s, something like that. So I love it. It's one of my favorite Halloween stories. You think I would know when it came out. I just don't know what to say about this movie other than I love it. Yeah, the violence, the blood, like the blood they have is really bright colored, which is something I normally like can't stand in a movie. Is like, oh, like they couldn't get the blood right. Like Last Samurai is a good example of, I really like that movie, but like the blood is super unrealistic looking, like it's super bright and doesn't look like blood. But this one, it totally works. It's kind of a cartoony element, and it fits with this being almost like a dark fairy tale like story. So to me, it completely works in this movie. I do really love the scene where everybody is barricaded in the church and the horseman is outside, and he like rips the piece of the fence off and throws it through the window and pulls the guy out. Just so many good kills in the movie. And I just love how the horseman feels very imposing. Like the way I don't know if they did something with the editing when the way he moves, like if there's some speed ramping or something, but he's very quick with his movements, but very precise. And I don't know, something about that just makes him feel scary and imposing. So Sleepy Hollow has always been one of my go-to Halloween movies. Like aside from watching the actual movie Halloween, I can't think of a better Halloween movie. Like Hocus Pocus is one of the only other ones that come to mind, because it's another movie that gets watched like every year. Not a horror movie though, but yeah, like if I'm gonna watch a horror movie in the month of October, there's 3 go-tos for me. One being Halloween, one being Sleepy Hollow, and the wild card, third one being Doom, which is not a good movie, but it's a bad movie that I kind of enjoy. But Tim Burton, he made a good one with Sleepy Hollow, and I feel like it's one of his more underrated movies. I don't hear anybody talk about it. I don't know how people feel about Sleepy Hollow. I think it's his best movie. If you were to ask me, the best Tim Burton movie. I know there's a couple I haven't seen. I haven't seen Frankenweenie and Big Eyes, and his more recent stuff I haven't seen. But Sleepy Hollow to me will always be his best movie. I think that is where he is perfect. If he was kind of like a genre director, I would have been all for that. But instead, he's kind of got a filmography that's all over the place. And I will always appreciate the Batman films, but to me, they're just not Batman. Like, he kills so many people in those movies. And it's just, the second one is so boring, and the first one just has some weird moments, but still enjoyable. But yeah, overall, Sleepy Hollow is the best Tim Burton movie, and you can come at me for that one. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I do want to hear what people think about that film. I've never heard anybody talk about it, and I don't really talk about it with any of my friends, so I don't know what the general opinion on that movie is, but I haven't looked it up to see like, whoa, what's its Rotten Tomato score? But I think it should be higher. No matter what it is, I think it should be higher. But that's going to be it for this Shocktober. Talk about Sleepy Hollow. It's a fun movie. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it if you've never seen it. To me, it's a 5 out of 5. I get everything I want out of that movie. So that's going to be it for today's episode. Be sure to check back tomorrow when we probably have another CarCast and another Shocktober movie review.